How was your journey from a musician, an artist, to this awareness, this consciousness about different frequency and how you implement it?
I've been into spirituality and mindfulness and meditation for a long time as well. The moment I did it, I was hooked and I realized this was something that was making me feel better. It was making my friends and family feel better and just bringing joy into the world.
When I discovered your music, it was through a TikTok, someone talking about you, saying, this guy is healing you through his music. I was like, wow, 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 wow. And I really felt like lift up. I really felt like something. And each time like that I'm feeling down, I listen to your music and I feel joy.
I love house music. I love raves and dance music. And those environments, they can be very healing in the right setting. And when it's the right time, we can use sound to heal, not only just from an emotional perspective, but like literally on the vibrational level.
Bonjour à tous, bienvenue sur la chaîne Revealing. Aujourd'hui, j'ai l'immense honneur de recevoir Lincoln Jesser, qui est un DJ extraordinaire et qui utilise différentes fréquences et la musique pour guérir. Alors, restez bien jusqu'au bout de l'épisode parce qu'on va découvrir son amour pour la musique, comment il est arrivé à utiliser différentes fréquences pour guérir à travers sa musique, pour remonter la vibration, comme il dit, de ses listeners, de ceux qui l'écoutent. Et cette magnifique pratique, expérience, en fait, de ce que le son peut nous apporter. Donc, merci et bienvenue dans ce nouvel épisode. Welcome, Lincoln. Thank
It's
you
an
so
honor to be
much.
here. I wish my French was better, but I appreciate the beautiful words and much amour to everyone. Merci beaucoup.
Amour is the best word to know, actually.
The only one. It's the only one.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you for accepting this interview and for being with us. I wanted to have you on the Revealing podcast because we recently had the opportunity to host a scientist who demonstrated through his research that sounds organizes matter. And you are an artist, you brings this concept to life on the electro house, on the club music scene. And I've become a huge fan of your music. And the first time I heard your music, I truly felt it helping me tap into a higher energy. So thank you for that. And how your love for music started.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm so honored by that and so grateful to hear that, that music and that energy resonates with you in that way, because that's really the ultimate dream for me. So it means so much. And I've been doing music my whole life. I started when I was a little kid, I would run around with a stick and pretend I was a conductor. So it was just always kind of built into me. And I just noticed that the people around me, when music would play, their energy would change. They would become lighter and more present, more in the moment, less distracted by the stories around them. So it kind of just had that intuitive hold on me. And I grew up in the Coachella Valley in the desert, before the festival. Coachella was there. But
Wow.
so I think that desert energy had, you know,
Something.
it has something to it. There's something in the water, the air, all of it. And so I just kind of, growing up, there wasn't that much to do out there in the desert. And it became a thing for, you know, people to be into music and be in bands. So I started writing songs. I think the first song I wrote, I was 12, actually after my dog passed away, my childhood dog. And, I had these emotions and feelings of loss and, pain around that. And I had this, my natural urge was to channel that into something that, would capture the love of the situation. And I just sort of started writing a song around it, and it made me feel better. And so that kind of was always the undercurrent of why I did music. And, I always looked up to, you know, rock legends, Jimi Hendrix and
Wow.
Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Strokes and so just being around that and then doing it myself, like the moment I did it, I was hooked, and I realized this was something that was making me feel better. It was making my friends and family feel better, and just bringing joy into the world. And I was so lucky to be in a community that supported me from pretty early on with it. And so I just started, playing in bands with my friends growing up. That's what we would do on the weekends is play and have parties where lots of other bands were playing. And so music and community was always just this really powerful thing for me. And at the end of high school, I just decided I wanted to do it full time and figure out how to do it, not really knowing much about the actual world of music. And I moved to LA and I studied music at school and was also just started doing it, putting my music on the internet. Back then it was, well, first it was MySpace, but then it became, SoundCloud and Hype Machine and the music blogs. And I just, I just always did it, and I always expressed myself through sound, and I opened up my world, and people came into that world through music, and it was always just such a source of inspiration and joy for me that at a certain point, when you do things long enough, it just becomes who you are. So, and now we're here.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, wow. We can feel like the love you have for music and the love you have to share through your music. And thank you for being persistent, patient, because I know a lot of artists who are really talented and they are all like not struggling, but having this doubt, having this question,
Yeah.
do I have to live from my music? How I can make it? And just hearing your journey, hearing you like saying, okay, I just live through my passion and step
Oh
by
yeah,
step.
there was lots of hard things along the way. I don't want to pretend like, we can get to that if you want, but that's, salute to every artist who's following that dream and that passion because it is very not easy, but it's the world truly needs it. If it's what you love and you know that what you're putting out there is from a place of authenticity and love and, a desire to connect people and lift people up, then the world needs that more than ever.
Yes, the world needs that more than ever, and the world needs art more than ever. And art going through our heart and love, like you. And so, how you became, how was your journey from a musician, an artist, to this awareness, this consciousness about different frequency and how you implement it? Just to give a context, when I discovered your music, it was through a TikTok, someone talking about you, saying, everyone must listen to this guy. This guy is healing you through his music. He's using like, um, famous frequency like 4, 430,
432 maybe.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, wow, what is that? And I'm a big fan of electro. But with my new consciousness, I will say, and awareness, last time I was in a club with a real electro set, I felt so bad that I was like, okay, that was for my younger self. Now it's not anymore for me. And then when I discovered your music, I was like, wow, 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 wow. And as I said at the beginning of this interview, I really felt like lift up. I really felt like something. And each time like that I'm feeling down, I listen to your music and I feel joy. And for that, like I will be forever grateful. And all the people who listen to this interview and knows you, I'm sure they feeling the same gratefulness for your art. So how, coming back to my first question, how did you use or did you had this awareness, consciousness about this different frequency and how it came into your mind, into your soul to use it through your music?
It was a process. I've been into spirituality and mindfulness and meditation for a long time as well. My parents are both healers of different kinds. My mom is a psychologist, my dad is a medical doctor. And, so I grew up even as a kid, my mom was really into like Carl Jung and Wayne
Yeah.
Dyer, and we had like Eastern philosophy lying around. And I always loved, learning about all religions and just for the mythology and the story of it and the epicness and the fact that it wasn't to me it was never about like one thing being the truth as far as the story. It was the fact that you could see everyone in it, like it connect like just the interconnectedness of it all. So when I moved to LA, probably for like the last 10 years, really, I've been a very, uh, like a serious meditator, Vipassana meditation specifically. And, got into, I started practicing yoga and slowly kind of got into these different specific mindfulness traditions. And so, for a long time, I was mostly just focused on electro or EDM or dance music or however you want to say it, like from that more just club specific perspective. Like that's really, and I love house music. I love raves and dance music. Like, and those environments, they can be very healing in the right setting and when it's the right time, like those are for especially for kids that are in their late teens or 20s, coming into the world, and you can have these really cosmic experiences with those things of like what it really is it helps you be present, and you're in that moment and you look out and you see like it feels like you're watching a movie of your own life because you see how special and epic it is to just actually be in your senses, be in your body in that moment. And so, that's what informed me. And at the same time, I also had this other side of my life where I was meditating and, learning about ancient healing traditions. Not so much at the beginning, I wasn't really thinking of it as just healing. I was more just thinking it was cool that you could, go inward and have these experiences that kind of felt good or made you feel like high, for a lack of a better term, high but grounded. And so those two things kind of felt like two very separate things that were running parallel to each other, but didn't necessarily intersect. And then, through the course of my life, like I hit a few years ago, I started to hit a wall and creatively and emotionally, and I was feeling really stuck in my creativity. I was not really taking the best care of myself spiritually or even physically or mentally. I was, in bad relationships. I was kind of chasing things outside of myself that weren't necessarily bringing me
Mm.
any lasting peace or joy. And meditation was helping, but I even, after like I kind of hit a low point and just sitting there with myself, I realized I had to get like more curious and go deeper to figure out what, there was something missing in it. And then that's really when I kind of discovered sound healing specifically. And I've had some really cool friends who have introduced me to sound baths, and I'd done a little bit of that over the years, but for some reason it had never like quite fully clicked how powerful just sound as a meditation tool, as a sensory anchor could be. And um, you know, I kind of started just experimenting with it in my own practice and found how healing and powerful it could be. And it was starting to make me feel like myself again and feel connected to something bigger than myself and inspired. And then at that same time, I found the work of this guy, Jonathan Goldman, who wrote this book, Healing Sounds, in the 90s. And it's become one of the most, you know, pivotal books on sound healing from someone from the West. And he's, been doing this since the 1970s, and he studied under, the Tibetan chant masters, monks in Tibet who have been practicing these things in the Buddhist tradition for like thousands of years. But he's also a brilliant scientist. And so his books connected the science and spirituality with music. And he's also an incredible, musician who's been making chanting, Om chanting and using frequency. So he kind of introduced me to the idea that we can use sound to heal not only just from an emotional perspective, but like literally on the
Yeah.
vibrational level.
Mm.
And so I started connecting these things that I learned in, Hindu teaching and Buddhist teaching and other mystical traditions that all basically say the same thing at the root of it, which is that, you know, in the beginning was the word, the Big Bang, Om. It's all just sound. God said, let there be light. It's about
Exactly.
speaking into existence and realizing that we are part of that speech. We're part of that vibration too. And the only thing that's blocking us from understanding that is our mind, like the ego that thinks that we are separate from the rest of it because we have, it's my stuff. This is what I like. This is what I don't like, and it blocks us from the blessing of just appreciating what is in the moment. And so that just the combination of realizing that and then having my mind blown by the understanding that you can really harness vibration within yourself through chanting or humming and also through absorbing frequencies through, in specific frequencies, which is like pitch or notes, and also the relationships between the frequencies to create intervals. You can merge with that field of consciousness to
Mm.
create healing effects for yourself and to connect you to others. And
Wow.
so it just blew my mind. And I couldn't help but start to put those practices into the music I was making. And, I still love to dance. I love house music. I love to DJ and be at those type of environments when the vibe is really good and high. And so I was like, this can be something that really merges all those parts of myself and feels like a true expression of my heart and soul that I can, hopefully provide to people to be of service and to connect them together and with me in a way that, my goal was when people hear these records, it, so that's why it's so, brings me so much joy and honor to hear you say that it lifts your spirits when you hear it, because that's what it's for. It's supposed to be a tool that helps you tap into that subconscious mind below the busy, the monkey mind, it's called, like running around all day
Yeah, exactly.
again, I gotta get this. I don't have this. Like, oh, this is bad. This is good. Like, no. If you just go beyond that into what is, you realize that there's an eternal peace and
Ah,
joy and love there. And so that's what that's what Healing House is designed to do.
yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. And the spirit of revealing of also what I'm doing, it's to reconnect to our real essence. And our real essence is love, actually. It's pure love. But we have to, go behind the conditioned thoughts, our trauma experiences, uh, yeah, a lot of, void that is separating us from this true nature. And at each moment, we can return to it when we know, first of all, that it exists. And second, that we can go or come back to it through, I don't like the word tools because it's too much like, this machine human, but through
Right.
practice, journey, through this way. And there is a lot of different approach that can like help us come back to this true nature of us, true essence that is pure love, that is peace. And music is for sure one of them. As you said, like in French, we say le son primordial, like this sound that create everything. And there is more and more scientists today that are looking through sound, through the power of sound that is able to shape matter, how it we can use sound to heal. And what we loved also through revealing is like to see what science is showing us today, is proving, and how it's converged with ancient wisdom. And sound healing, it's like it exists for
It's the oldest thing we've got,
forever.
pretty much. Yeah.
And just to come back to okay, your journey, I just read one of your posts recently saying someone told me that I will never fill a club with my music, and now I did it.
Right.
It was not so easy, I imagine, to. go with this concept in the club scene. How is
Yeah.
how was your experience?
Yeah, I mean it's an ongoing thing. And I've learned to really just enjoy that journey because it's just fun to see where it goes. Like I'm on the ride with everyone, and that's such a beautiful thing to see it from that perspective because you realize that the ups and the downs are both part of the joy of it. And so, I mean, I think they're just on the surface, they seem like two different emotional states, the state of meditation, the state of being just sort of centered and at peace, and maybe this idea of being really amped up at the club, with loud stimulation, and there's people like bumping into each other potentially, and like I think it's also part of club culture, especially at least in America, it kind of has its ups and downs, but the there's it's an environment in which there's potential for it to kind of go into more of the lower chakra, not to get too, woo-woo spiritual, but into the lower chakra places of, like wanting to have like the best table at the club or show like be wearing the flashiest clothes or like people are there looking to hook up with other people or whatever it is, like it became something that the house music scene was not like those things have always been part of it, but really it's about people being free to be themselves and to be authentic and to be in the moment with everyone else to feel connected. And so to me, like that's what meditation is about bringing the stuff under the surface out to the surface, which allows you to heal and to just see it and honor it. And so like clubs or venues that traditionally host dance music, to me, they are a healing space. They're their own type of temple, and they also have incredible sound systems, which allows you to, be really precise with the way that you apply frequency healing potentially, which is like a really cool thing that I want to continue to explore. But I think it's just, the scene kind of went in a direction where a lot of the mainstream stuff is very like not always aggressive, but kind of like a little bit sterile sometimes,
Mhm.
maybe people are, it's not comfortable to like be super sincere and out with just that joy of being and like, saying that you love everyone. Like it's become something that's not necessarily like that big a part of our mainstream culture. Like people will look at you like, yo, are you okay? You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to be like cool over here. Like, and like that's fine. Like I love all music and like all vibes and scenes, but for me, I think I was hitting a disconnect with my own music project because that's not who I am. Like I'm kind of a hippie. I'm someone that's very loving and open to everyone and so when I was trying to sort of hold on to this cool DJ persona before, it just wasn't really clicking because I didn't wasn't able to find the energy within myself to put out enough for that because there's just not enough there for me. Like that's not what life is about or music is about for me. For me, it's about, you know, healing house. It's all those things that it embodies, which is people of every age, every color, every life path, all being together in a space. And like those have always been the most fun parties to me, is where it's like people that you would never imagine being together, all just like having the best time and just getting
Yes.
hyped or being like in the feeling of the emotion. And it's not always like pure happy emotion either. Like sometimes it is sad or heavy. Like those are parts of the human experience that deserve to be honored as well. And when we create a space where everyone feels safe and comfortable with that, that's when the magic happens, in my opinion. And then
I
that's,
agree.
to me, that's honoring the roots of house music and dance music too, because those scenes came from, the gay and LGBTQ and black communities where they weren't necessarily given a space in uh mainstream clubs where they felt comfortable, and they started their own kind of scene, but it wasn't just exclusive. Like everyone was welcome there, and that's what all the prophets talk about. It's like turn the other cheek, kill them with kindness, and create a space that's inviting for everyone. And
Yeah.
that's how you start a revolution, because everyone wants to go there. Like, who wants to hang out in the place that's exclusive and has a bad vibe? Like, everyone just wants a good vibe at the end of the day. So that's what I try to do. And you know, I think feeling is believing. And so now that I've been blessed with, this incredible community all over the world, and people are starting to invite me into these different environments to play, the shows just keep getting better and more fun and powerful. And so the more that people see the proof of concept, the more they're realizing like, oh, this isn't really that fundamentally different from what we want. We actually want the same thing. And it's like there's more than enough time to have all these different environments at the club. So why not, give
Yeah.
give that healing house a little shine too.
Yeah. Did you play in Europe?
I'm gonna be coming to Europe this summer, which I'm super excited about. First
Where?
time. I'm gonna be I have a few dates up at lincolnjesser.com, but I'm gonna be in the UK at
Okay.
a festival called Paradise, and then I'm also gonna be in Greece at Agape Zoe Festival in Corfu, which is a healing
Okay.
medicine music
Cool.
festival.
Thank you for sharing this date with us because we really want to. I think there is this experience of hearing your music on Spotify. And also living your music with you mixing in the present moment. I think it's another experience that must be even more like wow. So
I
I'm
love it.
so
I love
looking
being with
forward.
everyone. Yeah, I just love, getting to meet everyone in person. It's so powerful, and it's really why I do it, to bring everyone together. And I just feel so like lucky and honored by the people that resonate with Healing House and like what I'm doing and feel connected to it. I'm always just so blown away. I'm like, you are so cool, and the fact that you like what I'm doing is so awesome. So
I'm not the only one. It's just the beginning of your. I don't think it's just the beginning of your journey, but I think it's just the beginning of something more because honestly, you are the only musician artist that I know who is playing like with frequency on the club scene. And this is really something that we need. This is really something different. And so thank you for having this courage to bring this to a new scene, to a new concept. So thank you very much. And I have a question. I have like two last questions and then we are done. Um,
go for it. I'm
do you
here.
remember or can you describe a time when your music helped someone or helped you overcome a personal challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first started, the first couple songs I put out, I mean, I get so many DMs and
I
emails, and
imagine.
it honestly, like, it's made me cry like many times, the stories I've gotten. But probably one of the biggest story, and I've had, a bunch of people write similar kind of experience around it, but my songs Om Mani Padme Hum and Om So Hum, which were two of the original Healing House tracks, I had people tell me that like specifically they lost a loved one. Like one person comes to mind who lost their dad, and they said that they were, riding their bike afterwards and processing it and listening to Om So Hum on repeat. And they just had like a really good cry, and they felt connected to their dad's spirit, and they felt that it allowed them to release the emotion that was, you
Mhm.
know,
I
building up
have
around
chicken
that.
wings.
And yeah, and
Mm.
to basically just help process that, and not to move on, but to kind of reintegrate within themselves in a way that they realized they had the strength that was needed, and they felt connected to their father, and they knew that it was going to be okay. And you know through that song was able to help program them in that way. And that song is tuned to 520. It's connected to the solar plexus chakra energy center, which is related to our will and our
Thank you.
personal power and our confidence. And 528 is also the frequency of miracles and transformation. And so it's very specifically designed to help you process those things. And for me, it connects because my dog of 12 years actually recently passed away. And that was, it sucks whenever you lose a loved one. That's like the hardest thing.
Yeah,
But it's part of life. Death is part of life. And we don't talk a lot in our, society, because no one really knows how. But
yeah,
when you can honor that, life becomes more special and beautiful, because you realize that inevitably going to have that transition. And so for me, Om So Hum actually came on shuffle, and I was in the car with my girlfriend, and we were both like really going through it, because, it's like we were processing it. And through the course of the song, we both felt the shift. So it's weird, because even though I made it, it feels like it was, it's really the collective that made it. And I just feel so honored to channel that to help other people and to help myself. I use frequencies all the time in my healing. And so I
me
just,
too.
those type of stories really are the ones
Wow.
helping people, bridge that gap between life and death, and between our time here and infinity.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that's what being a healer is about. And we all have that power of being a healer within ourselves when we
yeah.
come from a place of love and keep our hearts open.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's this, your words are so wise. I wanted to ask you, like, my last question is if you want to share one wisdom that is close to your heart, what would it be? But all along the interview, like you shared so much wisdom with us. So maybe for our last one.
Yeah, no, of course. I think I would have to go with Thich Nhat Hanh said this, who is an incredibly wise teacher. He said, enlightenment is when a wave realizes that it's the ocean. And to me, that's what it's about. And that's what Om So Hum means. It means I am that. I am the universe. And so when you realize that you're a part of this bigger thing, you're always connected to that source, and we're all connected to that ocean of love. We're all waves in that ocean of love. And there's no beginning or end. We're just here right now. And anytime that you lose sight of that, you can always come back to your center and take a deep breath and realize that in this moment is everything, and your next step is always right in front of you. And when you can become centered in that, and come at it from a place of love and gratitude, then you're going to be okay.
Thank you, Lincoln. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for sharing your journey with us. Thank you very much for your wisdom and for all this love that you share with us for this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Si l'esprit revealing entre science et conscience résonne en toi et que tu souhaites enfin voir ta vérité intérieure se refléter dans ta vie, alors je t'invite à découvrir cette masterclass 100% gratuite en cliquant juste ici.